This is Hello World tutorial number 18. Within this tutorial, we're going to look at how to create a session object and also how to access the session object. Finally, we're going to abandon the session and we're also going to log out the user. Now, first of all, let's go into the test app file and create the commit set. Now, session objects allow you to have access to a session using predefined type structures. So let's go ahead and add a session object. You can add multiple session objects, and we're going to add one, and we're going to set it to isDefault is true. So this allows you to access this session object by default, and if the session variables do not exist, it'll automatically create them in session when first called upon. So we're going to be setting the full name and the user ID, and we're going to also set the type of variable it is. We can also set default values for them utilizing default equals attribute. So let's go ahead and save all of that, and now you can see that this session object ID equals default is set as the default session object. Now let's set the variables in the session upon login. So we're going to go into the test file and access the login web part. We're going to go down to the login button and we're going to edit the code. And we're going to access the session utilizing the session dot. And since we set the ID default as the default session, we can simply access it by .fullname and .username. If it wasn't accessed as default, we would access it by session.as and then the name of the ID dot and then the name of the attribute with the session, such as that, as default. But in this case, since we've made it the default already, we're going to do session.fullname, and then we're going to access the virtual field in the object. And let's go ahead and save this. So now the session variables are being set when the user logs in, which can be accessible anywhere throughout the application. Let's go ahead and save that. We had one issue last time where we were seeing that combo box at the top and it didn't have any access control or permissions. So we're going to change that this time. Before that, we're going to actually add the logout property or the logout item so that you have the option to log out, and use the function session.abandoned, which will throw away the session. And then we're going to clear the history of the main part and then replace with the login web part. And the reason we're going to clear the history is that if the user hits the back, they will not be able to go back to anything because it would be all secure. So now we have the login option. Let's go ahead and save that. Now let's only show that combo box when the user is logged in, as opposed to showing it when the user is on the login page. To do this, we're going to set the visible property of the combo box, or the visible attribute, and we're going to set it to session.userid does not equal blank. And let's go ahead and save all the changes and now build the application. When we refresh it, you'll notice that the combo box is gone. And we're going to go ahead and register, or we're going to go ahead and log in, and we have now the logout drop down at the top.